y'all, another adventure. So I made some bone broth the other day and from some chickens that we had roasted, and I cooked the bones down. This is the fat that I scrubbed off the top, or lifted off the top, because what I did is I set this bone broth in the refrigerator until I could get to it, and so now it's cold. I'm kind of letting it come up to room temperature. So I've got 13 jars here, and my canner holds 19 jars. So I decided that I would can some apples along with it, because I bought a bushel of apples when I was in Virginia back in September, at the end of September, and I fully intended to can them, but everybody's been enjoying eating them fresh, so I haven't really gotten to that point yet. So I thought, well, why lose 6 spaces in my canner, because my canner will hold 19 pints. So I am going to fill up 6 pints with apples and go ahead and put those on the shelf. Now, granted, apples can be water bathed, so I normally would not go to the trouble to pressure can apples, but because my daughter really wants some apples for applesauce, then I'm going to actually going to try something. I'm going to can 5 jars without the skin, and I'm going to can 1 jar with the skin. And these are organic apples that we got off of a farm that we picked ourselves in Virginia. And I am going to see if the skins are fine as an applesauce. Then I will just go ahead and can all of them that way. And if they're not, if it's not a great texture or something, then I will know that all this peeling is going to be worth it. I do have an apple peeler and corer that attaches to the counter, and you spin the apple in it, but just for these 6 little jars, I figured I'd just do it by hand. So just gonna see how this turns out. I'm not sure how many I'm gonna need per jar, so we're gonna find out together. All right, that looks like we got 2 1/3 apples in there. I'm gonna keep trying. And then the pressure canning, for the reason I chose apples, the pressure canning method, the water bath for apples is 20 minutes for pints for water bathing, but for this pressure canning that I'm doing for the broth, it's also 20 minutes. So I realized pressure canning is completely different than water bath canning. But I also know there is no harm in pressure canning when we could water bath. It just means it'll cook longer. It might get mushier, but since we're gonna make applesauce out of it, it doesn't matter if it's mushy or not. So I'm not really that worried about that portion of it. This one doesn't want to cut straight down. Oh, All right, so it looks like I'm gonna need, that was a half, so I'm gonna do 2. Maybe I'll do 2 jars, not skinned. I have 6 more apples here. Now I'd have to get my card out, and I'll try to remember to put it down here, the type of apples that I'm using. But I believe that, I don't know that it matters what type of apples you use. The way I chose these apples for applesauce was I just walked around the orchard and tasted apples and decided, oh, that would be a good fresh apple, that would be a good applesauce or whatever. And I really liked the flavor of these. I think I will put a little lemon juice in there because I do have some home squeezed lemon juice. And so I'm just going to divvy this out amongst these jars. Sugar can always be added later. Finger tight. I do not like these Golden Harvest lids because they don't generally seal. I get a lot of false seals out of them, but since these are going to not be on the shelf a long time, I imagine, I am going to go ahead and use them, a couple of them. Just to kind of get rid of them, but also just to use them up. And then a lot of times, and for this instance, since I know I'm going to open these right back up anyway, I am going to use my Tatler lids. A Tatler lid is a reusable lid with a ring. It's a plastic lid and it has this ring that can be reused over and over again. I have had some failures with them, but if done properly, they do work really well. The difference with these is you do finger tight, and then when you bring them out of the canner, you have to tighten them up even more. So I'm gonna start off with finger tight on those, and I'm just gonna do the 2 that I'm doing with the skin, since we know we're gonna open those and try them out. You gotta be really careful to get the center, the ring on the jar perfectly, because if you don't, it will not seal. I've found out the hard way before. I'm gonna put all these in the pressure canner for 25 minutes. And I'll let you know what it looks like when we're done.